the next fight, the co-main event, Tony Ferguson, Beneil Dariush. To me, this is sad.
Yeah.
Right. The reason why I say that is because I feel like Tony. Look, I mean, okay, Lando Venata win, which he should have lost. Rafael dos Anjos, Kevin Lee, Pettis, Donald Cerrone, etc., etc. Like, these guys are fantastic wins. But when I see a fighter react the way he did in that 5th round against Gaethje,
yeah, he got broken. He got broken for the first time in his career in that fight against Gaethje. Gaethje was the first guy to break Tony Ferguson, who would have always been known as being strong mentally in there and always bringing the heat. His toughness got him through that fight, whereas that he didn't crumble completely. But you could see by his reaction that he wanted out, and he took some serious shots in that fight. And it's hard to come back from that.
I agree, and I just don't think he should have. Do you know what I mean? And not only do I not think he should have, he came back in 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also have to remember that he cut weight twice for that Justin Gaethje fight as well. Yeah. And then he had the decision, like you said, after that bad beating, to take another fight 6 months down the line. And, it seems pretty clear to me that Tony Ferguson is calling the shots when it comes to his camp and his preparations. And, sometimes I struggle to looking from the outside in, wondering what's going on, what members are a part of his camp, or who's making these decisions, because like we talked about before, fighters need to be protected. They need to be protected from themselves. So you would be hopeful that someone in his corner, or some part of his team or his management would be having a chat with Tony about this, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
He's also 37.
Yeah, look, we were talking about Tony Ferguson, he was on a downward spiral in his career. If you want to talk about an arc, he's coming towards the end of his arc now. Unfortunately, he's been in massive wars. He's been in massive fights. He's taken a lot of damage. And I think he's putting himself in for a lot of damage in this fight too, because Beneil Dariush is an absolute animal.
I agree. I mean, if we look at, I think it's sad matchmaking. So Jack Sear, shout out Jack Sear, he said a brilliant summation of this fight, and it's that he's glad to see that Tony is going to be handing the wild man of the lightweight division title down to Beneil Dariush, right?
Yeah.
I think that for Beneil, the Drew Dober fight is going to age really well. I think Drew Dober's a solid fighter. Frank Camacho, is whatever. But the Draco Close, the Scott Holtzman, and then the Diego Ferreira win. They all are fantastic wins, really.
And he's putting those guys away, apart from Ferreira as well. He's putting those guys away.
Barn burner.
Oh, phenomenal fight! Like, we kind of started off maybe a little bit negatively towards this fight, like. Hopefully we see a fresh and ready Tony Ferguson. We'll all understand that he's not what he used to be anymore. He always likes to bring it, and so does Dariush as well. So stylistically, this is a fucking phenomenal matchup, and it should be exciting. I hope it's exciting more so than sad, but I feel that it might end up a lot more sad than exciting. Might start off exciting and finish sad, and hopefully. I think this is Beneil's fight to lose as well, to be honest. So I think the UFC are setting this fight up to propel Dariush more so than to try get Tony back on the title track again.
I'm gonna give my real pessimistic thoughts about this, and then I'm gonna break down what I think is going to happen stylistically. The UFC have currently cut a lot of big names that are on relatively large contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Ferguson's on a 2-fight skid. If he loses this fight, I would not be surprised to see him cut.
No.
And I wonder whether the UFC are essentially betting on that outcome, right? Now, from a stylistic perspective, the reason why I favor Beneil so hard in this fight is, yes, he scrambles a lot. Yes, he is a wild man. However, it feels like if you go back and watch the Ferreira fight, the Ferreira fight, however you want to pronounce his second name, in those scrambles, Beneil came out on top on most of them, and it's generally because he's directing the way the scrambles are going, right? However, it feels like when Tony fights, scrambles happen and he just reacts, right? Whereas Beneil is generally directing things in a certain fashion.
Well, it's a smart way of setting up punches when you're forcing your opponent to scramble, and with the objective of getting him to scramble and trying to land on the exchange. And Beneil does that very well.
Absolutely. And I always will favor, generally, unless it's Francis Ngannou, the more technical man in a fight, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Tony will expect there to be scrambles. Beneil will force and direct the scrambles. And those are two very, very different things.
Yes.
On the feet, I feel like Beneil, he takes a lot of shots, right? But I feel like those shots are going to allow him to get into Tony Ferguson, and he's going to get close. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a finish of some form.
I think so too. I think so too, because, two of the guys are not afraid to get into the pocket and exchange. And I feel that Beneil has the power advantage between the two. And I think that Beneil has more of a likelihood with his hands, at least anyway. I know Tony shows some good knees and some good elbows as well, and Tony is always dangerous with those. Elbows. But with the striking exchanges, I too feel that Beneil has more pack in his punch. And obviously Tony has taken some heavy shots in his past that he has probably taken up. He's been beaten up a lot more than what Beneil has. And his durability might not be once what it was. So, I'm kind of leaning towards that myself. I feel that this fight could be mad exchanges on the feet, mad scrambles. And in the end, I think Beneil might just clip him and put an end to Tony's night early.
So the only thing I will disagree with slightly on what you've just said is Tony's own... The Justin Gaethje thing, like, it wasn't a finish per se. Tony's body just quit, right?
Yeah.
Tony was just like, I just can't do this anymore, right?
Yeah.
And personally, I've never seen that.
His mind was telling him to get out of there, and his body was refusing to quit.
Yes.
And it was a subsequent reaction of the shake of the head after that last heavy shot landed that was just his kind of maybe his signal to the ref or to somebody to say. And I'm glad that I think, I don't know who was reffing that fight, but I'm glad the referee stepped in there and put an end to that fight. But it could have been called a lot sooner than what it was as well.
I agree. And I actually have a slightly different opinion. I feel like that was an internal monologue. I feel the shake of that head was Tony being like, please don't quit. Like his mind was saying like, I'm done. And Tony was saying like, please don't do it. Please don't do it. And it did. Do you know what I mean? Like it had quit. Yeah. It was done. That fight was over. But the Beneil has been finished brutally twice. Right?
Yes.
That's
down to his style. He has a kill or be killed mentality. And that's why people love to watch him fight, is because he always lays it on the line. And, even that fight with Drakkar Klose was absolutely insanity before it got finished. Both fighters were hurt. And it's something that Beneil has had to kind of get out of his game. Sometimes it took him for getting hurt to try and spark himself into the fight, where he has kind of cleaned up that aspect and he doesn't get his hit as much as he used to in the past. So yeah, it's going to be exciting and I'm looking forward to seeing how that fight goes down.
So I am going to pick Beneil Dariush via third round submission.
Interesting.
I think he finds Tony's back, and when he finds Tony's back, it's done.
Nice. I think we could be dealing with a knockout at any stage in any exchange here. It could be first, second, or third round. I don't know. I think if I was to guess, I think a success here for Tony Ferguson is getting to the final bell and putting in a good challenging fight. Hopefully he doesn't get knocked out, but I think that Beneil has enough power to get the job done, hurt him, and finish him too by TKO in round 2.